call to order the THPRD Board of Directors work session for January 13th, 2021. Jessica, would you please call roll?
Ashley Hartmeyer-Prigg.
Here.
Tia Ping.
Here.
Heidi Edwards.
Here.
Wendy Kroger.
Here.
Felicita Monteblanco.
Here.
Wonderful, thank you. We are all present and we are ready for our information services update.
All right, Lori, do you want to kick off, or is Clint going right into it?
Clint is going to go right into it because I am completely unprepared to introduce him today, so I'll just hand it over.
No problem, Clint.
Totally fine. Jessica, if you'd be able to start the PowerPoint. So good evening, board members. For the record, my name is Clint Bollinger, and I am the Information Services Manager for the district. During this work session, we're going to be reviewing current trends surrounding information technology here at the district. We are, so starting off, we will take a look at our current staffing. Current staffing here at the Information Services Department, followed by a review of our COVID response. Then we're going to take a deeper look at the areas of increased threat activity, followed by a brief update on our enterprise resource project. And then we will finish up looking at investing in technology for the future. So to start, we're going to dig a little bit into staffing. I want to review a bit of brief history. So in mid-2016, a review of the IT department, or IS department, was conducted by a third-party contractor. The review noted that the department was running really lean, and they made several recommendations for the department in the area involving staffing. Up until this point, some of those recommendations have been acted upon. Others have been, we've chosen to handle in a couple different ways. If you would go to the next slide. So this is our current staffing. We'll notice that we have two vacancies, one in the system administrator area and one in the IS project manager. Based on ITIL, which is the Information Technology Infrastructure Library, it's a set of standards that you can use for certain metrics, especially around technology. So ITIL has a set standard for how to measure how many IT staff you should have based on the size of your organization. And so they have a couple different ways to measure this, but if we base it on the number of computers and servers that we manage, or if we base it on the number of IT systems or IT technology that we manage, any way you cut it, the IT department would be considered deficient by at least one developer, potentially more, as well as an additional system administrator and some additional technical support. So while we may be lean in these areas, we've decided to hire third-party contractors to assist to backfill in those areas to keep the overhead costs down. Additionally, we've decided as an organization that we will limit our in-house development of critical systems to just the bare minimum to make sure that we maintain security and standards moving forward. What we will be doing is scoping business systems that we can purchase off the shelf to get implemented in the district rather than developing our own stuff. Are there any questions about the current staffing? We are currently in the process of recruiting the system administrator. That posting should go live, I'm hoping, tomorrow or the day after. We've gone through sort of all the work that needs to be done in order to prep the post. Now it's just got to be posted onto the site. So hopefully we'll get that one going, and then the IS project manager will come after that. So if we could move on to our COVID response. So COVID obviously required all of IS to change how we look at systems and services. This is just a spattering of what IS has been doing during the COVID response. Within a matter of days, we went from having very few people who telecommuted, and of those, it was only done on a very limited basis, to a massive section of our workforce working from a telecommute situation. It was quite a sizable logistics lift. In that same span of time, we went from not using video conferencing tools at the district to putting all of our meetings into the virtual space using Microsoft Teams. This required quite a bit of training and education for the IS staff and then out to all staff. To this day, video conferencing is a large moving target. As Teams make strides to become a more robust platform, we continue to have to make adjustments as they roll out new features in Teams. When the decision was made that we could begin letting patrons back into the centers, we needed to be heavily involved in the safety protocols, as well as the designs to ensure that our systems could support the business needs. Additionally, a new process needed to be developed in order to allow our patrons to register for what historically had been drop-in activities, which required some pretty creative reimagining of our class registration system. It's important to note that throughout all of this, we too, as a team, needed to go through the same pains of losing daily direct contact with each other, dealing with the sudden need to work from home ourselves, our families and our households thrown upside down. This has been some of the most challenging months of my life, and I'm a combat veteran, so that's saying something. While most of the IS department's response to COVID has not been perfect, we have made sacrifices to perfection where we needed to, with the purpose and full knowledge of those shortcomings, but for the benefit of time, budget, and resources. So now I'm gonna take a moment to dig into one of the areas that you see here, the increased security threat. I'd like to take some time and dig a little more into that, specifically in the area of the absolute massive amount of security risks that we are getting hit with every single day. If you can go to the next. Go one more after that. There we go. So what you see here on the screen, this is just a sampling of some of the cyber attacks that have occurred over the last few years. The SolarWinds hack, if you are unaware, is absolutely massive. It has potentially compromised upwards of 1,800 organizations, from private companies to large government agencies. We here at the district use SolarWinds Orion. And while I can't get into specific details regarding this topic in a public forum, I can, with absolute assurance, let you know that we are not involved in this attack. We are safe, but the fact that we use this tool is somewhat frightening. The one right below that, Tyler Technologies. Tyler Technologies, this is the service provider for our new ERP system, was hit by ransomware in 2020. The attack was centered in their internal systems and was unable to move into the hosted environment due to their security protocols. So again, we were not affected in terms of having any kind of data breach or having our data ransomware. At the same time, this was a huge impact to our project. Added massive amounts of delays, limited our ability to work within the system for weeks. These two items specifically hit very, very close to home. Some others of note that are on here, Oregon DHS, that breach was in 2019, compromised over 600,000 Oregonians' personal information. Tillamook County paid a $300,000 ransom in January of 2020. So if you can just imagine trying to recover from a ransomware attack right before getting hit by COVID, it's pretty intense. This list is long. If you have any questions about any of these other attacks, I can certainly give you a little bit more detail, but the main point around this is that we are hit daily with phishing scams. And these types of scams are generally a very common catalyst for the types of breaches that you see here. So daily, we see these types of attempts to gain access to our systems. And we are not alone. Every member of the broadband users group is reporting similar activities. These issues are becoming a larger and larger topic for us, and we need to remain vigilant and continue to prepare for the very real possibility of an active incident.
Yeah. I think Tia has a question there, Clint.
Yeah, Tia.
Hi, Clint. So I was just, since a lot of these are contracted, there's nothing we can really do, right? Like if one of our contracted companies gets hacked or have ransomware from our end, right? So I guess from THPRD side and your side, would all those phishing be trying to get our community members' information, or are they trying to lock it up for their own ransomware?
So that's the unfortunate, I guess, fortunate part of not having been actively attacked. We don't really know. So a lot of times, there's a lot of the scams that we have are monetary. They would like us to purchase, several $1,000s worth of gift cards to send to them. But what I will say is those are generally just a foot in the door. So from there, what can they gain access to? How far can they dig? A lot of the threats that are out there are generally fall under 2 or 3 main categories. There's just gathering of information and watching. Really, just they want to know what's happening.
Yeah.
Then there's the folks who want money, so they'll do whatever they can to gain money. The most popular right now is the ransomware. They will encrypt all of your files, and then encrypt them again, and then encrypt them again. And so then you have to pay them to unlock them and continue to unlock them, which is actually what ended up happening with Tillamook County. They paid the ransom and then had to work with the ransomware's technical support, essentially, to get their files unlocked. And this took weeks of going through and unlocking all of their files. So they were working with those folks for weeks. And you imagine paying them $300,000, a nefarious character paying them and then having to work with them for weeks to get all your stuff unlocked. It's pretty intense. So the other main category there are people who just want to be destructive. And they really just want, those are the old adage, they just want to see the world burn. And, certainly being a government agency, we are not immune from that ourselves. So
My other question is, do we provide, I know that like lots of the phishing can come through emails and stuff. Do we provide training for our own employees on how to identify phishing and make sure that we're not getting hacked or allowing things to come through email?
So we've provided a very brief level of training. I will say our training could be better. And the fact that it's a continuously moving target means that really what you need to do is have an ongoing, perpetual, new, refreshed training. We don't have staffing for that at this current time. What I would say is there are services out there that provide that type of training. We've looked at getting that type of training. KnowBe4 is a pretty large company that that does that. And it's available on state contract. It's just a pretty expensive endeavor for the amount of employees that we have and the transient nature of the employment that we have. So we have, in the summertime, we hire upwards of 1,000 people, and then providing that training to those 1,000 people, and then at the end of the summer, those 1,000 people go. So it's just a really large sort of expense that we're looking at adding to our budget, but as with everything in COVID right now, adding things to the budget just is hard to sort of shake out. But yes, more training is absolutely key here.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna, if you could go to the next slide. So just a really brief sort of look at what our security structure looks like. This is a very high level. There's a lot more pieces to it, but just so you can see, we sit behind 3 firewalls here at the district. There's an edge firewall with the broadband users group that's controlled by City of Hillsborough. And then we have THPRD has its own edge firewall that essentially sits between City of Hillsborough and us. That is controlled by City of Hillsborough. And then we have a firewall on our side that sits between our edge and the bug edge. And that is controlled by us. So you would need to go through 3 levels of firewall before you get to our content. So while it is also not perfect, there are, definitely areas where this could be bolstered and stronger. We are much safer than many other organizations. We also employ a third-party monitoring called Alien Vault. They monitor everything that comes in and goes out, all the activity within our network. And we have, they monitor 24/7. If they see anything that even looks remotely suspicious, they contact us immediately. They send emails, they send phone calls, they will find a way to get in contact with me. I've gotten phone calls in the middle of the night because we have very industrious employees that are trying their best to get work done, and they forgot their password and they're entering the wrong password 5 times, triggered Alien Vault to think something might be going wrong at 2 o'clock in the morning. And it was just somebody forgot their password. But they are monitoring 24/7. So we are safe, but we could always be safer. Are there any questions about anything regarding our increased security threats? It is an area that I will say we spend a lot of time here, especially with all of the phishing attempts that we get on a daily basis. It is a growing concern for us, for sure. Seeing none, we're going to go ahead and move into our ERP project, our Enterprise Resource Planning project. We are implementing the Tyler Munis and ExecuTime product. We're actively running pilots right now for our human capital management section of this application, which handles all of our employee records. We are beginning to double enter time in the legacy system and the new ExecuTime platform, and payroll runs are on the way. They are working their way through, and they're working it all the way through and actually creating fake pay stubs out of the new system. We're still being paid, payroll is still running out of the legacy system, but we're running payroll completely all the way through to the end, so that way they can validate all the deductions are coming out appropriately. Everyone's pay is matching exactly what it's supposed to. This is a very time-intensive process, and it needs to be. It's a very high attention to detail. So these pilots are taking a really long time. But these pilots will lead us into a district-wide pilot, where the entire district will eventually be doing double time entry. So it's going to be a really large step for us. We're hoping for a go live for time management. It is currently scheduled for April. We are pushing for that date, and I'm very confident that we will hit that. The prep work for future phases has already begun, and we will continue to work through that as payroll goes live. So once payroll has settled, the bulk of the work for the future phases will ramp up pretty significantly. And those areas are in general ledger, our accounts payable, accounts receivable, reporting, things like that. The project has hit some sizable delays. Obviously, COVID has played a role in these delays, especially due to the many competing priorities of the district surrounding COVID. The previously mentioned ransomware attack with Tyler Technologies was very impactful. Staffing changes and other limitations, they have hurt the project as well. But we have pushed forward. We continue to do our absolute best. A huge, huge shout out to Cindy Hopper and Christine Hoffman. The human capital management and time management, these are huge portions of the work that fall under our fiscal operations and our HR group. And so their teams have been doing the bulk of that work. So they've been doing a fantastic job under really, really stressful situations. So if we can now, I'm going to move, unless there are questions about the ERP project. Hearing none, we're going to go ahead and move into investing in technology. Where do we go from here? Clearly, this is some heavy stuff that we've just went through. There's a lot of moving pieces, a lot going on, and this doesn't even begin to talk about the future state of our website, customer relationship management system, the registration portal, our needs around disaster recovery, backups, additional features needed for cloud computing. Could you go to the next slide? Thank you. So this should look familiar, as these are the key items that were included in the 2020-2021 budget. While COVID has definitely slowed these items, they remain a critical path for the district. But I would like to take this opportunity to share my thoughts on technology as a whole. It's important that we recognize that at its core, technology supports the district in accomplishing our mission. As you can see, technology is one of the prime means by which we conduct our operations. Because of this, the idea of investing in it needs to be embedded in all of our core values. Investing in technology in and of itself is not a short-term goal that is achieved. There is no finish line, as technology is something that is embedded in everything that we do. We need to continue to look at technology under the lens of how can we utilize technology as a tool to accomplish everything that we want to do. And with that, I would like to thank you for your time and attention tonight. If you have any questions for myself or for Lori, please, by all means, let me know.
Thank you so much, Clint. Colleagues, we just have 5 minutes. So Felicita.
Just want to say many thanks to Clint for that presentation and for your team's work. You know, I think that as we highlight the work of the district, we are constantly focused on the staff that are having interactions with our patrons, and you're a little bit more on the back end. So I just want to make sure that we take this moment to thank you for all your work and acknowledge what you make possible. I also want to highlight that never have our meetings been so accessible, and that excites me beyond means. And so I hope we can take some of those lessons into the future. And finally, I want to say, you know, while there is tons of expertise on this board of directors, like I don't know that any of us have this expertise, but when I think about like what our role is, it's to make sure that IT has the resources they need to keep the organization protected and to keep continuing the great work. So I know we will keep this in mind as we approach budget season. So thank you, Clint.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Felicita. Wendy.
I just would like to follow behind Felicita, the same thing. I was going to say thank you so much, Clint. And I also wanted to say that, you know, I so appreciate your just quietly being available for those of us who go crazy on occasion technologically. And I really appreciate your help. So even though you're busy with a few other things, you always take time for us. And I wanted to say thank you for that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wendy. Heidi.
And as well, just echoing my fellow board members, and to also remember it's not just those of us who work for the district or on the board who this impacts, but obviously our 250,000 residents. We want to keep their data and information as secure as possible. So your work is certainly known and very much appreciated. So please do share that with your staff and team, especially during these times as it's just amped up 250% or maybe 1,000%. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Heidi. And just quickly, just all my thanks, Clint. I am impressed at the amount your small but mighty team can do. A lot of people in tech get to be specialists, and your team has to be generalist, right? You guys have to really cover everything to keep this district going technologically, right? Whether that's helping someone reset her Apple ID password to preventing hackers from getting into the district. You know, I mean, just the breadth of everything that your team is doing while running a massive ERP project. I mean, it's impressive, and I thank you. Like Heidi said, well, I think I was talking to Doug last week, right, that we're in this situation where it's like, oh, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, yes. And all of those things have continued, right? None of them ended. They just kept going and getting piled on. So your work, you and your team is so appreciated. And thank you for spending your time with us tonight. This is really helpful, right? As we talk about our values and seeing how technology brings our mission to life is really, really valuable. So thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a wonderful team effort that we have here. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Clint. Okay, that concludes our work session today. Do you want a quick, do we go to a next link for the next meeting, right? Okay.
Right.
Well, then we will see you all in the next session for executive session.
You bet. Thank you.